What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with DFS, and in today's video, I'm going over Week 5's Monday Night Showdown between the Chiefs and Jaguars. But before we get into that, I'll kind of recap my main slate line for Week 5. So this is the cash lineup. So this is the contest I always use is the $25 single entry double up. It's 3,400 entries. Top 1,500 cash. Fell just outside. It was 1705. I missed cash by 5 points, basically. And this was one of the weirder cash slates on DraftKings. Usually we don't see ownership the way it was. Justin Fields was 81. Devon Achane was 71. Rico Dowdle was 50. Warren was 50. JSN was 64. Texans were 28, but this is kind of the deciding factor for a lot of people. Was the Saints was 47% and they got 18 versus the Texans were 28 and they got 11. So if you played the Saints, you played most of the guys like Jonathan Taylor. I did not. I kind of went elsewhere. It still didn't entirely hurt me, but I did go elsewhere and miss cash. So Jacoby Myers is pretty much the factor. I did have Jake Ferguson in my lineup until maybe 30 minutes before, and I did go with Tyler Warren. I felt confident enough in someone like Nico Collins, Garrett Wilson, going to be two of the lower owned players on my lineup. And going with there, I didn't want to get burnt on Tyler Warren being $100 cheaper and outperform Ferg. But unfortunately, if I went Ferg, I probably cash. But that's, hindsight is always 20/20. But yeah, I missed cash by 5. But this is one of the crazier ones where cash, the cash line in order to cash was 180 points. 180 points to cash. So it's definitely unique. By the way, if you played a cash line and you cashed, you did really, really good in tournaments. Tournament lines were not as good because we saw all the chalk pretty much successful for the most part. So, it's such a weird slate when you have a slate like that to where you score 175 points and don't cash, but you cash in a lot of tournaments and stuff like that. So, definitely a different one. So let's get into now the Monday Night Showdown. So this one is an odd one, to be honest. I don't know how to feel because Kansas City made work of Baltimore last week, but we just saw Baltimore get even, bombarded even more by a Houston offense that really struggled so far this season. The last 2 games, they've kind of pulled it together. And you get a Jacksonville defense to where Jacksonville's defense has played pretty damn good lately. You can see against Houston 2 weeks ago, against San Fran last week. And I mean, the defense has gotten a lot of takeaways. That is the issue. We're getting, a Mahomes who isn't at the top of his game. And it's just, Xavier Worthy was banged up. Kelsey's not what he used to be. Rashee Rice is still suspended. I think the biggest thing of it, their run game is just not great either. So we're not getting the best, but if this is one thing to indicate how the slate is, we only have 2 players above 10,000. And one of them is Brian Thomas Jr., who is severely underperformed this season. And you could say a volume thing or whatever. If you look at the volume, if you've looked at a lot of the stuff he's gotten, a lot of the passes, he's had a lot of drops, a lot of opportunities where he should have cashed in on. And it just seems like the connection is not there with Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas Jr. It's either one or the other, but it's leaned more towards Brian Thomas Jr. underperforming than Trevor Lawrence to him. So let's go over kind of where I'm at with it. So I think Mahomes at 10-6, I mean, is a great play. I mean, I've said, Mahomes isn't playing the best, but Mahomes is still playing better this season than we've kind of seen in the last 2 seasons, at least fantasy-wise for the points, where he's gotten 3 out of 4 games over 20 points. I mean, we've got a 27 and a 26 performance out of him. I mean, look at the defenses he's faced. He's faced the Chargers, faced Philly, and then gets 2 favorable matchups in the Giants and Baltimore. So he's kind of faced 2 tougher defenses. The thing with Patrick Mahomes that I think has kind of elevated him fantasy point-wise so far this season is the rushing upside, where we saw week 1, week 2. I mean, he gets you 11 points on the ground in week 1 against the Chargers, week 2 against Philly, and he gets you 12 points in that one. So Yeah, Patrick Mahomes has utilized his legs a little more. We saw last week against Baltimore where he didn't utilize his legs, didn't need to, but he threw for 4 touchdowns and over 250 yards. So that is the one of the considerations. It's Patrick Mahomes against this Jacksonville defense. So I do think Patrick Mahomes is in the lineup. He should be in your lineup tonight. The Jacksonville defense has played really, really tough. I'll give it to them. But on a slate like this, where it's kind of uglier, we don't get a whole lot of value. I'm going to lean towards Mahomes. Brian Thomas Jr., you have to make that decision. If you want to play Brian Thomas Jr. or Trevor Lawrence, and that means you're kind of getting away from ETN, or you're going the ETN and Lawrence route, and then just punting with a Brenton Strange or something like that to go along. So it is tough to definitely make that because ETN seems like he's in a really good spot against Kansas City's defense, who's been surprisingly bad against the run. Their pass defense has definitely been good. The one thing that I think is a huge consideration is how kind of underperforming both offenses are in the red zone and how good both defenses are in the red zone. So that's something I'm going to be looking for tonight. So I like ETN. So I'm probably going to prioritize Mahomes, ETN, and then figure out what I'm going to do with the rest. Xavier Worthy popped up on the injury report, but I still think he's one of the better plays for Kansas City pass catcher at 8,800. It's a good matchup for Travis Kelce at 7,600, but he's not hit the kind of weekly 20-point performance that we get out of Kelce. And when I say weekly, I don't mean like every week, but we've had games the last few seasons where Travis Kelce looks like Travis Kelce from years ago, to where he was an elite top tight end in the league. Right now, he is, to me, in my opinion, just a role player on this team. Does when he needs to. Obviously the explosiveness of Xavier Worthy. You kind of get Tyquan Thornton that's succeeded. Marquise Brown has been getting a lot of work. So with that, like Travis Kelce, I don't know if I need to get in my lineup tonight. Someone like Hollywood Brown is $600 cheaper. Juju's cheaper. So I probably lean towards getting Worthy in my lineup and then figuring out what else I'm going to do. Travis Hunter, I love the talent that Travis Hunter is. He's just not on the field enough, getting the volume to be in consideration, and it's a very tough matchup against his Kansas City secondary. So probably staying away from Travis Hunter based off of his price. I'd rather lean towards still someone like Isaiah Pacheco, but I don't love it either. It's just for $400 cheaper. But here's where we get into the players I like. I like both kickers on this one. I mentioned both offenses have kind of struggled in the red zone, and both defenses are good in the red zone. So we have that potential to see one of these kickers get a 12-plus point performance in this one. And it's one that I like, right? Both kickers have been pretty damn good this season. So for the price points, and you look at some of the prices around them, I'm okay with it. Tyquan Thornton is here, but here's the thing with Thornton's price. He has that upside, right? He has that deep ball threat upside, but I think Juju is a little more valuable, and the reason Juju's a little more valuable is he is on the field a lot for Kansas City. Even if he's not getting as much volume, he's still on the field a lot more than Hollywood Brown and Tyquan Thornton. So Juju is kind of the guy I'm looking to stack with Mahomes at 4,800 if I'm doing that. Brenton Strange at 4,600. I like Brenton Strange at 4,600. I think he's a good stackable piece if you want to go the Trevor Lawrence route. Plus, he's one of the cheaper guys because, I mean, you still get Parker Washington down here. You get Diami Brown down here. But both those guys aren't on the field as much as someone like a Brian Thomas Jr., someone like a Brenton Strange. So I kind of lean towards that. The defenses, I mean, I'd like to lean towards the Jaguars defense. They've played really, really damn good. But you look at the offenses they faced. Carolina in week 1. Cincinnati in week 2, which was Jake Browning, and they still got some turnovers in that one. But you saw Jake Browning pretty much light them up. Joe Burrow had a decent game until he got hurt in that one. Faced a division opponent who's played underwhelming offensively in Houston. And then week 4, where the injury started to happen to San Francisco. So It's really tough to evaluate the Jaguars defense, but I do like them. The Chiefs defense, granted, like I said, they've played some good offenses as well. But the upside that Jacksonville's defense has gotten at 4,000, especially cheaper, I'd probably lean there. I will mention one guy I do like is Brashard Smith at 3,200. We started to see him get more and more included, and that is because of the underperformingness of Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco. So I think he's an interesting value play. I don't think he's a must, but he is interesting. Someone like Tootin here is also interesting for $400 cheaper against Kansas City, where I mentioned they've been worse against the run than I thought they would. But Tootin's been getting a decent amount of volume lately, been utilizing the receiving game as well. So I do want to say the touchdown upside has kind of made these numbers look a little better than they are. So take that into consideration. But I think for the price point, it's not bad. And then Noah Gray, I think, is worth mentioning at 2,400. Yet again, he gets on the field. If you know one thing about primetime games, tight ends get touchdowns. So at 2,400, do I think it's crazy that Noah Gray scores? I do not. So let's get into making a lineup. And I want to go Mahomes at captain and see what we could do. And we're not off to a great start. Let's go. Let's go with Little. And let's go with Juju. I want both those guys in. I don't need them, but I want them. Let's go ETN. And can we get Xavier Worthy? And we're left with 5,700. And we could go a couple of different routes. We could go with Harrison Butker. And if we don't want to go that route, we could go with a Brenton Strange. So that's kind of where I'm at. There's no T-Law, obviously. There's no Brian Thomas Jr. Fading kind of the Jacksonville offense, just off the way I look at it. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. That is the lineup I'm honestly fine with. Obviously, like I said, I'm fading kind of all this upside talent up here, but just going off of kind of some of the stuff I like. So just an example, but yeah, I hope you guys had a better cash slate than I did last night. Yeah, it was definitely a stranger cash slate, I guess. So, but yeah, I hope tonight's game is good. Last night's game ended up being really, really good. Started off really slow, but that's kind of been the theme for primetime games. It's either starts off fast, goes slow, or starts off slow, goes fast. So hopefully we get a good one, and I will see you guys in the next one.